They're putting on a brave face, acting like everything's under control, but the truth they're desperately hiding is that their entire world is collapsing around them. Behind closed doors, they're facing serious legal consequences that could land them behind bars. They've been forced to accept that letting you go is their only option now, but they'll never admit how much that decision is destroying them. They don't want you to see their vulnerability, their desperation, or just how completely they're falling apart without you. While they project strength to save face, the reality is they're losing absolutely everything, and there's nothing they can do to stop the inevitable crash that's coming. You always knew this day would come. They didn't. They mocked you when you walked away, scoffed at your warnings, laughed in your face when you told them the truth. They thought they were untouchable, above the law, beyond consequence. Their name plasters every headline, the same name they once used to open doors, to command attention, to intimidate, now reduced to a cautionary tale. The news anchors speak in sharp, serious tones. Breaking news, high-profile arrest, a shocking fall from grace, handcuffs, mugshots, courtroom doors slamming shut. They were once feared, respected, worshipped. They are a spectacle. Cameras flash as they're led into the courthouse, their face a ghost of what it once was. The world watches, waiting to hear the charges read aloud. You watch too, not with anger, not with satisfaction, just certainty. Because this was always where it was going to end. The law moves slow, but it never stops. The investigations stretched for months. Paper trails, whistleblowers, sealed testimonies. They thought they had buried every secret, but every lie leaves a trace. And now those traces have formed a noose around their empire. The same people who once shielded them, defended them, cleaned up their mess. Now they step forward as witnesses, their closest allies turning on them to save themselves. They sit in the courtroom surrounded by flashing cameras, waiting for mercy that will never come. Their lawyers scramble, but there's nothing left to salvage. Every loophole closed, every backdoor escape sealed shut. They glance at the judge, the jury, the walls closing in. Their face is different now, pale, small, silent. This is the moment they finally understand. There's no way out. The gavel slams, guilty. They exhale, but it's not relief, it's resignation. The weight of their crimes, their arrogance, their illusions, crushing them all at once. Shaking hands, hollow eyes, a life of deception finally collapsing. You don't need to celebrate. The universe handled it for you. They were so sure they'd always be above it all, that their power, their status, their influence would protect them forever. But justice isn't an opinion. It isn't swayed by excuses. It doesn't care about their reputation, their money, their carefully crafted image. It only cares about the truth. And today, justice has spoken. They thought they were careful. Every document shredded, every transaction hidden, every witness silenced, or so they believed. For years they moved through the world like phantoms, leaving destruction but never fingerprints. They bribed the right people, silenced the wrong ones, buried the evidence deep. They convinced themselves that power made them invisible, that money made them untouchable. But you knew better, because lies don't vanish. They sit beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to be unearthed. The past they tried to erase is reconstructing itself. Forensic accountants, investigators, analysts, they're all digging, pulling records, tracing transactions, exposing the rot. And what they're finding, it's worse than anyone expected. The financial records don't add up. The offshore accounts weren't as hidden as they thought. The deleted emails, recovered. The encrypted messages, unlocked. The falsified contracts, cross-referenced, flagged, undeniable. They thought that wiping the evidence meant wiping away the crime. But digital ghosts don't rest. Their own system, the same one they used to manipulate, deceive, and destroy others, is now exposing them. Every transaction they buried, every deal they swore was untraceable, every signature they forged, it's all coming back. The people they trusted aren't loyal anymore. Their business partners, their co-conspirators, their inner circle, turning on them one by one, not because they want to, because they have to. No one wants to go down with them. Former allies sit across from investigators, faces pale, hands shaking, testifying under oath, names, dates, exact details. What was whispered in secrecy is now being repeated in courtrooms, written into case files, broadcasted across news reports. They hear the words spoken against them, and it hits them like a freight train. They aren't the puppet masters anymore. They are the evidence. The thing they feared most, the undeniable proof of their corruption, their deception, their downfall, now written in ink, stamped in official records, filed in sealed indictments. They thought they were untouchable. But you knew, truth has a way of resurfacing, and when it does, it destroys everything in its path. You feel it before they do. The frantic whispers, the nervous glances, the way their voice wavers when they speak. They swore they would never fall. They thought the system was rigged in their favor, that money, status and manipulation would always keep them safe. The system is closing in. Investigators are watching their every move, every call, every text, every transaction, monitored, dissected, filed as evidence. Their high-priced lawyers sit across from them, their expressions tight, unreadable. There are no loopholes left to exploit, no favors left to call in. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's not a mistake. This is prosecution. You're just watching as their confidence turns into fear, watching as their arrogance crumbles. They used to smirk at the thought of consequences, laugh when people warned them. They had excuses ready for every accusation, talked their way out of every confrontation. Not this time. The law isn't some rival they can manipulate. It doesn't care about their charm, their threats, their connections. It only sees facts. And the facts are damning. Subpoenas arrive like clockwork, their inner circle splintering. Once loyal allies are cutting deals to save themselves. Every conversation is a risk. Every word is a potential weapon against them. They are isolated, trapped in a maze with no exits, just walls closing in from every side. They still think they can delay the inevitable. Another appeal, another excuse, another desperate attempt to rewrite reality. But you know better. The inevitable has already arrived, and soon they will see it too. You remember how they used to move, the expensive cars, the designer clothes, the effortless arrogance. Wealth wasn't just their security, it was their weapon. They flashed it in your face. They used it to control people, to buy loyalty, to create the illusion of power. You saw them hand out money like it would never run out. Dinners, gifts, favors, bribes. They used it to keep people close, to make others feel indebted. The money is gone, and with it, so is the illusion. Their luxury lifestyle, erased overnight. No more exclusive clubs, no more designer brands, no more impromptu getaways. The same high-end stores that once welcomed them with champagne, now they're just another name on a declined transaction. They reach for their card, rejected, try to book a flight, denied. The realization hits like a freight train. There's nothing left to spend. Their accounts are frozen. Their credit cards maxed out and useless. The IRS wants its cut. The banks want their money back. The loan sharks, they don't do payment plans. It's funny, really. They always laughed at the idea of being broke, treated people without money like they were beneath them. They are the ones drowning, and the same people they used to control. Now they won't even return a call. You see the panic in their eyes, the tightness in their jaw when they realize no one is coming to save them. Their once loyal friends, vanished. They aren't VIPs anymore. They aren't feared. They aren't respected. They are desperate. Desperation makes people do ugly things. You can already see it. The pleading, the fake apologies, the sudden interest in fixing things. But it's not real. They don't regret what they did. They regret losing everything. You're watching it unfold, not with bitterness, not with revenge, just certainty. Because you knew what they never wanted to admit. Money never made them powerful. It just made people pretend they were. No money, no power, no mercy. They used to laugh at you, mocked your struggles, sneered at your hard work, acted like survival was easy. Just work harder. just be smarter. Being broke is a choice. You never forgot those words. They're the ones knocking on doors, looking for a couch to sleep on. The eviction notices stack up like unpaid bills, because that's exactly what they are. Landlords don't care about past status. Banks don't accept excuses. Reality is knocking, and it's not asking for permission to enter. You see it in their face, the exhaustion, the desperation. They aren't sleeping, because when you don't know where you'll lay your head next, sleep isn't a luxury. The same streets they used to drive through in luxury cars. Now they're walking them, looking for a break, a handout, a way back in. But no one is answering their calls. Not the friends they once spoiled, not the people they once controlled, not the ones they stepped on to get ahead. Where is the lifeline now? They used to be the ones who decided who ate and who starved, who succeeded and who struggled. Now they finally understand. They built their life on illusions. Fake power, fake loyalty, fake security. And when the illusions collapsed, so did everything else. They still don't believe this is their fault. They think they're just down on their luck. That if they just get one more chance, they'll claw their way back to the top. You know better. Because being broke was never the punishment. It was the consequence. Stop right there. Yes, you. This message isn't for everyone. And if you don't feel it, that's fine. Move along. But if you felt it deep in your bones, you'll know this is for you. The ones who don't fit in. The ones who see beyond the veil. The ones who've been told to stay quiet, to settle, to conform, but never could. They aren't interested in what's ordinary. They aren't here to follow someone else's rules. They're the light in the dark, the storm that shatters illusions, the unshakable, the unstoppable, the untouchable. While the world is busy running circles, they're walking their own path, alone if they must. Not for the applause, not for the approval, but because it's who they are. Here's to the ones who take what was meant to destroy them and transform it into something divine. The ones who carry wisdom that can't be taught, only earned. If this resonates with you, then maybe it's time to find your people. The Obsidian Inner Order is the only place of its kind, the #1 Ascension Nexus for chosen ones, where over 400 of us gather to share wisdom, connect and transform. No masks, no games, just truth. The link is in the description. If you're ready, you'll know where to find us. If not, that's fine too. The choice is yours. You've seen them fake it before, that perfect posture, the smug confidence, the rehearsed charm. They always knew how to perform. For years, they made sure the world saw strength, power, control. Even when things started falling apart, they kept up the act. The performance is over. Behind closed doors, they are unraveling. No cameras, no followers, no distractions, just them, alone with the truth. They aren't sleeping. You know why? Because guilt keeps people up at night. Because panic doesn't let the mind rest. Because when you've built your entire life on deception, the silence becomes unbearable. They pace back and forth, checking their phone, checking their bank account, checking the news. They used to laugh at people who worried about money. Now they wake up sweating at 3 a.m. They used to look down on those who lost everything. Now they're staring at their own reflection, wondering when it all slipped away. The tears they used to fake for sympathy, now they're real. But not because they're sorry, not because they've changed. They cry because they miss the power, because they aren't afraid of losing people. They're afraid that people have already forgotten them. You don't have to be there to see it. You already know, because this was always how it was going to end. They thought no one could touch them. They thought the world revolved around them. Now they finally see what you always knew. They were never as powerful as they pretended to be. You knew this was coming. You saw the moment their world cracked, the moment the facade slipped, the moment they realized they were no longer in control. They can't handle exposure. They can't handle the reality that people finally see them for what they are. Frauds wrapped in false power. They're scrambling, not to fix what they've done, not to make things right, to save face, to claw back even a shred of the reputation they once wielded like a weapon. You see it unfolding, the sudden shift in their public persona, the forced humility, the performative remorse, the deeply personal statements filled with empty words. They're philanthropists now, donating money they don't have, launching charity campaigns as if giving away scraps will erase their sins, making grand speeches about growth, learning and second chances. But you know better. You've seen them fake generosity before. This time is no different. This isn't atonement. This is panic. This isn't about changing. This is about erasing, rewriting history, erasing the scandals, the fraud, the lies, scrubbing away the truth and replacing it with another illusion. They want the world to believe they were never the villain, just misunderstood. And if they can't convince the world, they'll convince themselves. You already know the excuses. The media twisted the truth. People just love to tear others down. This is just a smear campaign against me. I was the real victim all along. Each excuse more pathetic than the last. Each attempt at sympathy more hollow. But the problem, no one is buying it. Not this time. The audience has changed. The same people who once blindly defended them, they've woken up. The same ones who used to believe in their power. Now they're the ones exposing their lies. You just watch, not with anger, not with vengeance, just with certainty. Every staged apology, every orchestrated comeback, every desperate PR move, it all backfires because they don't realize something. Their downfall isn't a tragedy, it's justice, and no amount of damage control will save them now. Frank Sinatra once declared, "The best revenge is massive success." You're living proof. They watch you from a distance, silent, seething, suffocating on their own regrets. Once they mocked you, laughed at your dreams, dismissed your potential. They swore you would never make it, but look at you now, thriving, elevating, untouchable. You aren't just moving forward, you're soaring, while they're crumbling, drowning in the same mess they created. The tables have turned. Once, they were the ones looking down at you. They can't even reach you. They whisper your name, but you're too far ahead to hear them. They thought they could control your story. They lost that power. They thought they could break you. You became unstoppable. They thought you would always need them. Turns out they needed you. And when the realization finally hits, that they could have built with you instead of against you, that they could have stood beside you instead of trying to tear you down, it's too late, because you're already gone, winning, rising, unbothered. No more cryptic messages, no more veiled threats, no more games. The chaos they once thrived on, gone. At first, you wonder if it's a trick. They've always been calculated, always found ways to pull you back in. But this time, they aren't coming. Not because they've changed, not because they've finally decided to leave you alone, because they have no choice. The resources drained, the influence shattered, the power they once held over you non-existent. Everything they used to control you, fear, guilt, manipulation, it no longer works. They spent years trying to break you and now they can't even reach you. They know it. They don't have the energy to chase you anymore. They don't have the standing to intimidate you anymore. They don't have the leverage to keep you trapped. You were once the ones struggling to let go. Now they're the ones grasping at nothing. This isn't peace. It's defeat, not yours, theirs. The freedom you always wanted. It's finally here. And this time they are powerless to stop it. It starts small. A missed call from an unknown number. A random message that shouldn't mean anything, but you know exactly who it's from. They aren't bold anymore. No more demands, no more threats, just quiet, desperate attempts to reach you. Hey, just checking in. Hope you're doing well. I just wanted to talk. As if nothing happened, as if the betrayals, the chaos, the mind games never existed. But you know better. This isn't about reconnecting. They aren't reaching out because they care. They're reaching out because they need something. Your energy, your validation, your stability. Their world has collapsed and they are scrambling. No more power, no more control. You're the only thing they know that still stands tall. So they come crawling back, not with apologies, with excuses, not with sincerity, with manipulation. They will tell you they've changed, that things are different now, that they just want to talk. But the truth? They never expected to need you. They thought you would always be waiting, that you would always pick up, that you would always save them. But this time, you don't respond. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but because you no longer belong to their world. And deep down, they know it. You didn't realize how heavy it was until it was gone. For years you carried it, the stress, the manipulation, the constant suffocating presence of their control. They filled your mind with noise, with distractions, with problems that were never yours to solve. You spent so much energy dodging their traps, deflecting their mind games, protecting yourself from their chaos. It's silent. No more waiting for the next attack. No more bracing yourself for another crisis. No more second-guessing every decision because of what they might say or do. The weight is gone. And in its place, freedom. It doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't feel like some grand, dramatic moment. It's subtle. It's the way you breathe easier, the way your shoulders feel lighter, the way you wake up without that immediate sense of dread. You never realized how much space they took up in your mind. That space is yours again. New doors open. Opportunities that you never had the energy to pursue suddenly feel possible. Your relationships change. Real connections replace the forced ones. You start to see people for who they really are, not through the lens of survival, but through peace. Life feels lighter because you aren't fighting anymore. Their downfall, it wasn't just an ending. It was your breakthrough. You get to live. You always knew. They covered themselves in power, wore confidence like armor, sharpened their words into weapons, but it was never real. Behind the intimidation was fear. Behind the arrogance was desperation. Behind the control was a hollow core. They weren't powerful. They were pretending. For years they thrived on deception, convincing people they were untouchable, manipulating reality to suit their narrative. But illusions don't last. Everyone sees them for what they are. They never had the strength they claimed. They had fear tactics. They had lies. They had control until they lost it. Because real power doesn't crumble under pressure. Illusions do. And when the mask fell, there was nothing behind it. No influence, no respect, no authority, only the bitter realization that they were never the force they pretended to be. You were the one thing they could never break. They threw everything at you, the mind games, the manipulation, the chaos. They wanted you weak, dependent, questioning yourself, but you never belonged to them. You were always greater than the game they played, and now the world sees what you saw all along. They were only powerful when people believed in the illusion. That belief is gone, and so are they. What was the moment you realized their power was a lie?